Welcome back, everyone, to another explainer where we dive into some seriously fascinating and honestly pretty terrifying source material. Today, we're unpacking a story that actually starts out super calm, kind of nostalgic, really. Just picture this: a 15-year-old kid living with his grandfather on this peaceful, quiet farm. It's harvest time, the fields are just packed with these tall jawar crops. And, to keep the birds away, the farmers have set up all these scarecrows, or bijukas, all over the place. Sounds like a perfect childhood memory, right? Well, as we're going to see, things take a very dark turn very fast. Which brings us to the core question of today's explainer. What happens when a simple childhood game awakens a 30-year-old demon? I really want you to keep this in the back of your mind as we unravel this whole mystery. Because what starts out as just, innocent curiosity, it quickly spirals into a literal nightmare for this kid and his entire village. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the ominous box and Scarecrow. Let's look at how this nightmare actually kicked off out there in those jawar fields. So there's a crazy stark contrast here. Over on the left, we've got the boy and his friends, Rajiv and Baga. They're just playing in the dirt, right? Digging this waist-deep pretend well. Totally innocent kid stuff. But then on the right, look at what they actually dig up. It's this wooden box tied shut with these old rotting threads. And inside, torn, bloody clothes, this absolutely terrifying horned demon mask with these huge fangs, and a long, sharp knife. So in a matter of seconds, this fun game of digging turned into unearthing some deeply dark, buried secrets. And, what do kids do when they find creepy things? They play with them. Because, of course, when you dig up bloody clothes and a horned mask, your first instinct is arts and crafts, right? Without even realizing it, they were building a vessel for pure evil. They grabbed the bloody clothes, the horned mask, piled up some dry grass and long branches, and built this massive scarecrow, a bajuka, that was literally twice their height, just towering over the crops. And to top the whole thing off, they actually put that shark knife right into its hand. So completely by accident, they constructed the exact physical monster that was about to start hunting them. Section 2, terrifying massacre in the fields. And boy, that very night, the consequences of their little project become horrifyingly clear. And this brilliantly illustrates how fast things went wrong. Just follow this timeline with me. At 9 p.m., flocks of white birds just start screaming like they're being massacred out there. Then the boy's dog, Modi, runs off into the fields and totally vanishes. By morning, Modi is found dead, his stomach completely ripped open. But the horror escalates the very next night. A buffalo gets ripped in half, and the boy's grandfather, his Baba, is actually ambushed by the very scarecrow the boys built. And by the following morning, the devastation just peaks when the boy's friend Baga and his whole family are discovered dead. Now, the loss of the grandfather is just absolutely brutal. Baba actually managed to shoot the bijuka twice with his hunting rifle. We're talking once in the chest, once in the head. But get this, the monster just gets back up, stabs him in the back, and then violently consumes his head, like literally crunches it like a carrot. Before he passed, though, Baba managed to gasp out this final chilling warning to his grandson: "Son, stay hidden until morning." He definitely knew something about what this creature really was. So, fleeing his grandfather's death, the boy runs over to his friend Baga's house, only to stumble into a scene of just absolute visceral horror. Baga and his parents are dead. They're hanging from their roof like morbid scarecrows, and their flesh has been partially eaten. Then the bajuka actually comes after the boy, grabbing him right by the throat. But right at the last second, Rajiv's father shows up, shoots the monster in the head, saves the boy's life, and forces them to go hide out in the fields until dawn. Which brings us to Section 3, Bhikkhu, the 30-year-old mystery. While they're hiding out there in the dark fields, waiting for the sun to come up, Rajiv's father finally whispers the dark history of this land. So we get this flashback to 30 years ago. The village used to be plagued by this series of gruesome murders, but they only ever happened on Amavasya, the dark new moon nights. The killer would behead his victims, rub turmeric on their severed necks, and then draw this perfect circle of red kumkum powder around them. This right here sets up the introduction of the story's true villain, a fanatic named Bhikkhu. Now, what's really interesting about this is we need to understand exactly what kind of monster Bhikkhu was when he was still alive. He wasn't just some run-of-the-mill serial killer. No, he was a demon worshiper. He would literally burn his own body with hot coals for days on end just to gain these dark, supernatural powers. Those gruesome murders, they were human sacrifices meant to please a demon. Eventually, Piku gets caught right in the middle of a ritual and is beaten to death by an angry mob. But here is the crucial connection to the present day. Because fire was actually the source of his dark power, the village priest warned everyone not to cremate him. So instead, his body was just left out for scavengers, his bones were buried under a peepal tree, and his evil soul was bound by mantras to his mask and knife and locked away inside a wooden box. Yep, the exact same box those kids dug up, completely unleashing this 30-year-old curse. Section 4. The Tantric Priest's Fake Trap. Once the survivors realize the sheer magnitude of what they've done, they go seeking out the very same old priest who originally bound the demon, desperately hoping he has a solution. The priest lays out this super elaborate folklore ritual. Basically, they have to dig a 4-meter pit. Then, right at dusk, which is when the demon's power is supposedly at its weakest, Rajiv's father has to spill human blood to lure the Bajuka out and quickly step inside a magically protected circle. After that, the priest says he'll use ancient magic to animate a corpse to distract the monster. And while it's busy feeding on the corpse, the boy is supposed to chop the weakened Bajuka in half. I mean, it sounds like the definitive foolproof survival guide, right? Well, actually, the chaos of dusk brings absolute disaster. The priest totally struggles to control the animated corpse, the Bajuka completely ignores the bait, grabs Rajiv's father instead, and just bites right into his shoulder. The boy, acting purely on adrenaline, desperately swings his axe and actually chops the monster completely in half at the waist. But instead of dying, this thick black smoke just pours out of the Scarecrow and shoots straight into the nose, ears, and mouth of Rajiv's father. And the priest immediately yells out, "Son, Bajuka has possessed Uncle's body. Push him into the pit." The boy is panicking, obviously, but he trusts the spiritual guide, so he shoves his savior, Rajiv's father, right down into that deep 4-meter pit. But when the boy turns and asks what to do next, the priest just laughs, blows this mysterious magical ash right into the boy's face, and knocks him out cold. It's just a chilling reminder of how, in moments of sheer panic, we can blindly follow authority figures right off a cliff. Section 5. Betrayal and the story's end. And here we go, entering the fast-paced, panicked climax of the story, where the true motives of this priest are finally laid out in the open. Just imagine the sheer terror here. The boy wakes up bound by ropes, kneeling next to this blazing fire. And standing right across from him is the old priest, dressed in full black robes, holding a whip. The guy they went to for salvation? He's actually orchestrated the ultimate sinister betrayal. The priest reveals his terrifying truth with this line, "I don't want to die. Now I will enter your body." So the crucial takeaway here is that the priest was never ever trying to save the village. He was just old, dying, and terrified of death. So he went ahead and struck a dark deal with the demon Biko. And this really highlights the deep psychological horror of this whole betrayal. On one hand, you have the promise of a trusted spiritual guide. Save the village, destroy the monster, end the nightmare. But the reality? It's horrifying. The priest intentionally freed the demon, effectively handing Bhikkhu the body of Rajiv's father. And in exchange, Bhikkhu gave the priest the dark magic required to forcefully rip the boy's soul right out of his body. Why? So the priest could steal his youth and live forever. So the priest starts up his dark chant. He raises his whip to strike the boy and eject his soul. But suddenly, and this is a rapid, shocking twist, the priest's head is sliced clean off. His body just drops to the dirt, and standing right behind him is Rajiv's father, now fully possessed by the demon Bhikkhu. Think about that. The very monster that slaughtered half the village, the monster the priest freed, turns against the priest. Bhikkhu actually unties the boy's ropes, sparing his life. So the boy survives to tell the tale, but the possessed body of Rajiv's father, he simply walked away into the night and was literally never seen again. Which leaves us with a final lingering question. Is Bhikkhu's soul, now fully free and armed with all that dark magic, still wandering out there somewhere, searching for a new body today? It's definitely a terrifying thought to leave you with. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I hope this structured look at a truly chilling tale kept you fully engaged. Until next time, stay curious.